What does the U.S. Navy have to do with online video editing for entrepreneurs? Find out in today's episode. I'm Jaime Geffner.
And I'm Steve Geffner, and we're the creators and owners of Geffner Productions.
We specialize in online video production, strategy, and education for the entrepreneur.
So if you're an entrepreneur who wants to learn how to use online video to transform your business, then you're in the right place.
Let's talk video.
Hi, and welcome to the show. Today's viewer question comes from Rick in St. Louis, Missouri, and he writes, "Dear Steve, I've been doing my own online videos for about a year now. I'm great on camera and the video and audio quality in my videos is good, but I'm still a beginner when it comes to editing. I currently use iMovie, but don't do much actual editing other than saving my files to upload to YouTube. Do you have any quick editing tips to help me make my videos look more professional?"
Thanks for your question, Rick, and don't worry, I won't take any offense to the fact that you wrote this one to Steve. He's definitely the more technically minded of the two of us and the one who's responsible for the fine details of our editing. So I'm gonna let him handle the majority of this one.
Thanks, babe. All right, Rick, you are in good hands. Editing is my favorite part of the production process, so we've got some great tips and advice for you that will definitely make your videos look more professional.
But before we get into our editing tips, I have to say this. When it comes to producing online videos for entrepreneurs, yes, camera quality, audio, lighting, and editing are all extremely important elements. But even still, the most important thing to think about is your content. Now, more than likely, you're an entrepreneur who has a powerful message to share, and if that's the case, then you definitely don't want that message to get lost. So please make sure you don't let your video editing distract your viewers from what you have to say. Keep it simple and classy and don't overdo it, especially if you're a beginner.
You know, I think this is a perfect time for a segment we like to call
Words of Wisdom.
Today's words of wisdom come with a KISS. Well, they're actually the acronym KISS to be exact, which was reportedly coined by aircraft engineer Kelly Johnson. KISS stands for Keep It Simple Stupid, which was noted as a design principle by the US Navy in the 1960s. The KISS principle states that most systems work best if they are kept simple rather than made complicated.
The principle is best exemplified by the story of Johnson, who, when tasked with creating spy planes for the US Navy, challenged his engineers to design planes that were repairable by an average mechanic in the field under combat conditions with only the typical tools that he would have available to him. So simple and yet so brilliant.
And along the lines of keeping it simple, let's get back to our video editing tips. When it comes to editing your online videos, tip number one is don't overuse transitions. Now, for those of you who don't already know, transitions are the effects you use to go from one shot to another. For example, this is a straight cut, this is a crossfade, this is a wipe. You get the idea. And depending on the editing program you're using, there are hundreds of different options for transitions that you can use. But just because you have the option to use 100 different types of wipes doesn't necessarily mean that you should be using all of them in your videos. In fact, nothing screams, "I'm an amateur editor," more than a bunch of different fancy transitions that you use just because you can. So our advice is, unless you have a very specific reason for using a different or unique transition at a certain place in your video, pick a handful of transitions that you use regularly and stick to those.
Also, while we're on the subject of transitions, it's a great idea to include a fade in at the beginning of your videos and a fade out at the end. Nothing bugs us more than seeing videos where the on-camera talent turns on the camera and then adjusts themselves and then makes the viewer wait several seconds before starting to talk. The faster you get to your amazing and valuable content, the happier your viewers are gonna be, and the more likely they'll be to stick with you throughout the remainder of your video. Never waste your viewers' time unnecessarily.
Tip number two is to utilize graphics to add visual value to your videos. For example, if it's appropriate, use a chyron or lower third at the beginning of your video to quickly introduce and identify yourself to your viewer. You can add your name, your job title or area of expertise, and even include your website URL if you want. This gives you instant credibility as an authority in your field and takes away any confusion people might have about who you are and what your title or area of expertise is. And if you add your URL as well, it also tells people exactly where they can go to find out more about you and what you have to offer them.
Another great way to use graphics is to put up keywords and tips throughout your video to help the viewer absorb the information that's most important. Now, assuming you're writing your scripts ahead of time, which you should be, you can plan out the graphics for what your tips will be to make sure that they match up with the information you're sharing with your viewers. And again, when writing your tips, keep it simple so anybody will be able to easily understand and digest the information. Always assume you're talking to a beginner audience and make sure everyone can easily follow along.
And just like with your transitions, depending on which editing program you're using, there will most likely be pre-built graphics that you can use either as is or customized to the look and feel that aligns most closely with your brand's colors and style.
Tip number 3 is to use video footage and pictures to help tell your story. If you're doing either talking head style videos where you speak directly to the camera or interview style videos where you speak slightly off camera to an interviewer, adding in video footage or pictures of what you're talking about will help to make your videos more interesting and exciting to watch and will help your viewer to be able to better visualize what you're discussing.
And if you really want to impress your friends with your editing knowledge, you can refer to this supplemental video footage as B-roll. In the TV industry, A-roll refers to the primary footage like your dialogue or main content, while B-roll refers to the secondary visual shots you cut to while editing that helps fill in the finer details of your story.
Thanks so much for your question, Rick. We can't wait to see you try out some of these simple editing tips in your videos.
And since today's inspiration came courtesy of the US Navy, we'd like to actually take a moment to thank all the men and women who are serving and have served in the United States military. And for all of you entrepreneurs at home who are watching, if you got great value from the information in this video, please leave us a comment below. Tell us, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to editing your own online videos?
For more great tips and advice about online video production and strategy for the entrepreneur, make sure you join our mailing list at GeffnerProductions.com to receive weekly blog show episodes just like this one.
And if you have a question you'd like answered on an upcoming show, you can email it to us at letstalkvideo@GeffnerProductions.com.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.